If you're excited about our new guest here, coming on now, we have a legend about to enter the chat. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? We have a legend about to enter the chat. Are you ready? Please welcome all the way from New York City, and I can't shout out the hype train till after, but keep it running if you're excited about this. A legend from New York City. Let's go let him in. Oh my goodness. There he is, everybody. Please make some noise for Bobbito. Put some fire in chat for Bob.
1 2 1 2.
There we go. There's a move in here called Do the James or the James. Am I correct?
And you would.
I don't know. That's how I envisioned it. You said the ball paused behind someone's back or something. Well, I couldn't. That was more of a sham god that I was doing, I think. But
well, if anybody out there saw the Nike Freestyle commercial, I catch the ball and then I actually do the James Brown shuffle. That's my little contribution to that legendary commercial that got mimicked by football and movies and still endures to today, 25 years later.
Yeah, that was a Nike commercial, was it? Or what?
Yeah, Nike Freestyle commercial directed by Paul Hunter. They basically created the Planet Rock beat using sneakers and basketball sounds.
The reason that we brought Bob on today, well, first of all, just because he's just a joy to have around. And please make sure you do follow Cool Bob Love on Twitch. He does some sets from his room there. He does all different types of programming. And man, Bob, like reading your book, it's just the sheer amount of experiences you've had in your life is just unreal, man. Like every page of this book I'm just reading, it's just feels like something monumental. I truly was hanging on to every page of just following your book. And your memory, how do you remember all of this stuff? I appreciate the details. You're like, you can remember who you played at lunchtime, June 23rd, 1979 in 134 PS 134. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, whoa. He remembers the score of the game, who crossed him over, who he crossed over.
Well, I gotta say, I've been keeping a journal since 1990, and if for any of the hip hop heads in your chat or in your audience who watched the film that I directed, Stretch and Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives, I was very detailed as a director in that documentary. Well, we would show the date that Nas was up there, November 23rd, 1993. We would show the date, February 25th, Big L, Jay-Z, et cetera, et cetera. Show the date, March 5th, 1992, Biggie, right? Yep. It's because I kept a journal all those years. And so while I was writing in that about my hip-hop experiences, the same thing I was doing about my basketball or sneakers or music, club, whatever. So I do have a decent memory, but I've been documenting my own life all along the way. And it's not just like, wrote like digging into the crate here. It's like I have archives as well. I have articles that I've been featured in. I have interviews. I have audio. I'm an archivist. Some of my collection is actually in the Smithsonian, as well as the Cornell Hip Hop Archive. And so I use these tools to collect sort of and create memories. Sometimes I might not remember the year, but then I look at a photo and I'm like, oh, I had the Air Darwin's on. That's got to be 1995. And then that's what any historian does. They look at evidence and then create a narrative.
Totally. People, archaeologists and whatnot will do that. They'll say, okay, well, this gives me, I know this point and I don't know this one, but I can estimate where this was between here and here.
Yep.
And that's also, I agree. That's how I keep a good memory. I do that a lot with records and release dates and stuff. I'll see if an artist I'll know that that's between this and that. And, who played in James Brown's band as the drummer? Was this the Bootsy era? I do that as well. So, but I honestly was super impressed with the detail that you told these stories, and it was really compelling. And I can remember sometimes like that. Like I played some ball myself, and I can remember even small games at the time feeling like the biggest game in your life.
Well, I mean, for me, I've been blessed to have some amazing experiences in that space, and in each case, I always felt like I really never anticipated being here, and so it's it gets embedded.
It's all
It's like
live. You say something in the book where it's just like you just seize the moment.
yeah, you seize the moment, and everybody has unforgettable experiences. Whether it's the first time you hold your child, or the first time you have an incredible slice of pizza, whatever. Like it's just
That's some
you
New
just
York
don't
thing,
forget
right?
it,
That's a New York thing. The first time you hold a slice of pizza.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
guess.
compared that
Shout
to
out
a child. Is that what that? Yeah.
Shout out to DJ
But
Center.
NYC culture. That the thing that kept coming back for me is just this is a document. Well, I shouldn't say just NYC culture, but you can really feel some of the experiences that you had between, like, let's say your school years, the 80s and 90s, such incredibly formative years for New York culture.
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed to have been born in 1966. I'll be 60 in 2026, which is uncanny to me, right? But
Fire in the chat for Bob. This man, you look great, bro. You look great, brother. This is stay active. You're gonna be like Bob, man. Wow, fire in the chat for that.
Well, I mean, so part of that is growing up in the 60s and 70s, where hip hop is a burgeoning culture, sneaker sort of like awareness is formulating alongside the explosion of playground basketball and how it's marrying and interconnected with hip hop, and I'm right at the forefront for all of it, and so that's pretty incredible. I meet a lot of people around the world who will say, oh, the golden era, 93, 96, and I'm like, wow, like you're showing your age, and I don't discount that.
Yeah.
When it's a personal narrative, when someone says, oh, the golden era, they're really saying for them.
Yes.
Yeah. Like my golden era might be 76 or 79, prior to like anything being
rap records
recorded, right? And so, but that's because of my age. And so, we all live precious lives, and I respect everybody's opinions. But yeah, I mean, I was really, really so happy to have been raised in New York.
Yeah,
I
get that through the book, and with the detail that you tell the stories, as someone who was very inspired by New York culture, it's enthralling. It's just to hear the detail of like from the different schools, the different boroughs, the different courts. You talk about the court that you grew up is the Earl the Goat Manigault court, right? The Goat Court is your home court.
Well, it's not just my home court. It's also known as Rocksteady Park for the Rocksteady crew. It's where, the foremost B-boy association was practicing. Before they went to Lincoln Center and performed for the first time on local TV on ABC News, they were at Rocksteady Park, 99th and Amsterdam, right across the street where I grew up. I lived on that block for 25 years. And so I'm experiencing simultaneously playground basketball culture, because it's named after Earl Manigault, who mentored me and inspired all of us. But at the same time, I'm seeing Legs and Ken Swift and Doze, and they on the by the swings, breaking on the rubber mats, before they could get the linoleums from the furniture. The furniture store was right there on Amsterdam. The whole linoleum movement starts at Rocksteady Park, because the furniture store used to put out their garbage, and the members used to take the cardboards, from the couches, because they were huge, and that's what they would break on. And then they started taking the linoleum from the furniture. That's history right there, that exactly right. And so, I mean, Crazy Legs is a dear friend of mine. I didn't know him back then. I knew of him, but I didn't know him. We became very tight in 90, 91 when Rocksteady kind of reunites and starts taking over the world again and inspiring a whole new generation. So, but yeah, I was very, very blessed
absolutely.
to have grown up in that park. And I talk about that in the memoir, Bobbito's book of B-Ball Bong Bong. Like, it's, the common thread is basketball, but I can't tell that story without entry points of my family, my upbringing, my identity as a Boricua, hip hop, sneakers, social justice eventually as I get older, and how I use the sport as a tool for change. Really, I mean, right now I do a tournament in 30 international locations called FC 21. Right? Your country has won the All-World Final 5 years in a row, amazingly. Shout out to my brother Will Strickland, who's my local organizer.
Shout out to Will Strickland.
But yeah, I mean, it's basketball has been very, very good to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, and as your story goes on, Bob, it starts in New York, and then sometime around, I guess, the 90s, you start working in music for Def Jam and whatnot, and then you start getting. Was music the thing that really started taking you on the road, or were you traveling with basketball more regionally? I guess East Coast, you were traveling with basketball, was it?
I mean, it's really both.
Simultaneously.
I played professionally in Puerto Rico in 1987, so that's like the first time I'm out of the country for more than actually, no, I hadn't even left the country yet. I hadn't left the U.S. yet. I didn't travel. I didn't get a passport until 93. Me and Stretch went out to Paris, right? So I'm in Puerto Rico for a month and a half for the season, and that's my first time like out of New York really for that long. But eventually, yeah, I mean, like the job at Def Jam definitely took me around. I was a dancer for third base. A lot of people don't know that. More like a substitute dancer. I met and noticed where their main dancers, and if they weren't available, I just jumped in on stage. I performed at the Omni in Atlanta. I performed at the Capitol Center in D.C. Performed at the CMJ conference, the College Music Journal. With third base, I'm dancing in the Step Into the AM video. I'm a cameo in Gasface video.
Great.
Shout out to Pete and Serge. They get mentioned in the book because
they do right here. Can I read a little page that I have earmarked here?
No, of course, bro.
Okay, yeah. You say, one night at Nels, I bumped into my old teammate Mark Pearson, who introduced me to two up-and-coming MCs named Pete Nice and MC Search, as well as Dante Ross, who was doing A&R at Tommy Boy Records, and he had signed Queen Latifah. Pete and I hit it off immediately as he was an all-Brooklyn Queens selection for Bishop Ford High School. Mark told him I had some game, too, so the respect was from jump. As the party hit its peak, Search and I made our own circle and danced our asses off. You and MC Search dancing. From that point on, we became unofficial crew. They wound up becoming roommates, Mark and Pete, and one night Dante came over to the unmastered, unreleased cassette of De La Soul's debut album. We all sat there transfixed. No one said diddly squat. We just bopped our heads and listened in astonishment. That was the moment when I realized I wanted to work in the music industry. Dante was my inspiration and blueprint. He'd started out as a messenger for Rush Artist Management and paid his dues up the ladder. I hoped for the same opportunity. And the same opportunity did come for you, didn't it?
It did. It did. Why? Do you want to do my grade, bro?
I mean, I could. I mean, I get a lot of practice here on Twitch talking on the microphone.
I mean, I don't know that you would get much bookings as a voiceover talent for kids titles, but, Skratch, voiced by Skratch Bastid, I don't know.
Man, I mean, I could. I think I could make the time, but I really enjoyed reading this book. Of course, a basketball fan. We played ball once, and you complimented my jumper, and I felt the same way that you talked about when Earl the Goat Manigoat complimented your jumper.
Oh man, stop it. To all your audience, I can attest that Skratch Bastid, aka his government, which we're not going to say, was a ball player. Actually, he has a nicer jump shot than DJ Center or Selector 720. So of the three of my favorite active Twitch.tv DJs, I would put my money on you in a 3-point contest or a one-on-one. I mean, just, that's what it is, man,
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man, for sure. Well, and to toss a little bit of my own story in there, I played ball. I still play ball, not as much as I used to, but I played organized ball from, I guess it was mini. We called it mini, then bantam, then midget were the divisions that the categories that I played in, and then I played junior high and high school.
Yeah.
And I think I if I really push it, I feel like I could have played some kind of level of Division 2 or something up here. I really loved the game, and I hustle hard. And I just got into DJing around 16 or 17, and that really started taking off for me. So I dedicated a bit more to that. But I loved the game, and reading your book, like it gave me flashbacks of those eras and feeling about pushing yourself and finding different ways to be your best self. And that was one thing that I saw in this book. And as it continued on, just really inspiring story, Bob. Like, I highly recommend anyone pick up this book, Bobbito's Book of B-Ball. Bong, bong. I'm just pumped, man.
Allow me to share that the book is in stores worldwide July 1st. It could be ordered now from bucketsandbaskets.com. That's BU buckets, the way it sounds, and the letter N, and then baskets, the way it sounds, and also akashicbooks.com. For all information about my projects, whether it's music, film, books, podcasts, radio, etc., just go to coolboblove.com. That's spelled with a K, KOOLBOBLOVE.com. And yeah, man, it's been a beautiful ride. It's been a beautiful ride putting out this book, getting all the feedback early on from people who pre-ordered it and got it early. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that in-store date next week, next Tuesday.
Yeah. Canada Day.
Huh?
It's Canada Day, July 1st, for what it's worth.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, oh, Canada.
There it is. Yo, I got to shout out Lord Finesse is in the chat right now. Shout out to Lord Finesse.
Finesse is a dude who loves basketball. He used to run a tournament in Forest Projects and the BX, and very heavily involved in the scene. I don't know if he still is, but Finesse. A lot of people think of Fat Joe when it comes to TITC and ball, but Finesse is right up there with him. I mean, Joe won chips at EBC at Rucker Park, so he became kind of well known for that. Right. But Big L and I played ball together once at one of the original Rucker sites on 130th and 7th Avenue. I had a game against Lovebug Starsky, a hip hop.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book here.
I wrote about that in the book. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Big L, and he was a little less aggressive in person, or I shouldn't say aggressive, but a little less. His mic. I mean, Big L is one of those MCs that's just larger than life, and you can't take him out. But he was a bit different in person and on the court, you say?
I mean, at least around me, his demeanor was really kind of quiet, and I wouldn't say shy, but just kind of super chill cat. I loved L. He would come up. He would come to the station once he got on me and Stretch's radar. We basically gave him the keys to the door. Like he was able to come through whenever he wanted. Everybody talks about the Big L freestyle in '95 with Jay-Z, but he came up to the station 5-6 times. He came up to when we started Hot 97. He came up there as well. So rest in peace to the brother. Only solid memories with him, and it was a joy to just shoot around. And we didn't even talk that much. We just shot around.
But that's. It was
the
the beauty
simple
of
joy
basketball,
of being on the
right?
court,
It's nonverbal communication.
Yeah. I mean, when me and you shot around with DJ Center, we was talking a lot of smack, but with L, it was just kind of he spoke on the mic. He became like a different person. It's kind of like Chris Paul. I don't know if you've ever met him off the court, but he's like the sweetest, kindest dude. You're like, yo, how could this be the cat that we see CP3 in the NBA games? You would never believe it, but he's fierce. It's like, but people, they get in their zone. Finesse is like that too.
Yeah, Finesse said he coached Unlimited for 10 years in the chat here.
Yeah. No, I mean, Finesse. The first time I think I met him was at Rocksteady anniversary in '91. I don't know if Finesse remembers this, but he was pissed at the Lords of the Underground because they had came up with the song Funky Child or with a Funky Man, whatever. And Finesse was known as that funky dude,
The funky man, funky technician.
Yeah, the funky technician, exactly. And so he came, the Lords of the Underground were booked to perform at Rock Steady Crew Anniversary. The first one we ever did in 91. And, I went up to him to say, what's up? But, he was so laser, like a boxer is about to go into the ring. That's how Finesse was. He was ready to, like, just destroy. And I said, what's up to him? And he didn't look at me. He don't remember this. He didn't look at me. He just shook my hand and, like, but just didn't give me the courtesy of looking me eye to eye. And then, so I was just like, wow, like, Finesse is just a real intense dude. And then, he comes up to the station and, he brings up the SP for KRS and Chris freestyles over his unreleased beats, and me and Finesse on in Switzerland, and we DJing, we record. Finesse took me record digging in Zurich, Is he still in the chat?
He's still in the chat.
100%. That was scary. Anyway, all said, like, Finesse is like the coolest dude you'll ever meet. But
Absolutely.
When he's in that ring, like, he's same thing with L. I mean, that's why I guess they got along so well,
Laser focused and masters of their craft.
Exactly. So I hope Finesse is laughing at this. But he took me with him to a record store in Zurich. Never talked about this. And I was shitting in my pants, bro. Because he kept on being like, yo, Bob, and he's so kind. He's like, yo, Bob, you got this? So-and-so sampled it. Large sampled the horn. Yo, P sampled the bass. Yo, you got this? He keep on pulling records. And I'm looking at the prices. And, with the exchange, I'm like trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, ha.
Yeah, that Swiss, they call it the Big Mac Index, right? The Big Mac Index is off the charts in Switzerland. It's the most expensive place to buy a Big Mac. That's a testimony to how cool Finesse is, that he would share his knowledge with a dude like me who, I wasn't even DJing yet. I don't think I was just buying records, but yeah, but he he knows the pedigree, of course. Like he must have known you from the different. I mean, Zurich, that must have been late '90s or early 2000s or something.
I think it's like
probably.
mid '90s by that point.
Midnight, yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's also a part where you say you played ball against Rakim in here. I
did, and that was at the BRE. BRE was the Black Radio. I forget what the E stood for, but it was a industry publication that would do a conference every year that every single record label will go to, because all the radio programmers and directors and mix show DJs would be down there. It was in New Orleans. And so this was at the launch of Def Jam's Rush Associated Labels, which was like an offshoot. A really bad idea, truthfully. It didn't work out. The good part of Rush Associated Labels was that Def Jam picked up EPMD and Nice and Smooth from Sleeping Bag. That's like that's kind of like the highlight. In any event, Rush Artist Management devised this like showcase of like the who's who of hip hop. It was ridiculous. I mean, Slick Rick, Public Enemy, LL,
Cool J, Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane,
Rock. I mean, everybody was down there, and so I was there because I worked at Def Jam. I was doing A&R and I was doing promotions. And yeah, so we me, any city I was in for hip hop or for DJing, when I started spinning, I'm trying to find a pickup run. So I went to a local Y. They had 4 fans on each corner because there was no air conditioning. It was hot as balls in there, right?
Feels like
so
today.
4 like fans, like the side, like 6 feet high, like an airplane, like airplane propellers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we run 5-on-5, and guess who walks in the gym? Is
commercial grade fans.
Yeah, who walks in the gym? The God Rakim.
The God walked in with his crew. Then we picked sides and ran a full.
Yeah, why don't you read it? Read it, Skratch.
Yeah. Next day I went to it, searching for a pickup, and landed at the local YMCA. The gym was so hot they had fans the size of airplane propellers blowing in each corner. The God Rakim walked in with his crew. Then we picked sides and ran a full. The tone was, nobody's smiling, just like his In the Ghetto song lyric. I went to the Baja and pulled off the same signature V dribble fake to the trailer I'd first debuted at the GOAT, then at PS 194. Bong, bong. 2 of Ra's teammates snapped their necks in the wrong direction, and I scored. After the 5-on-5, he gave me a
Strictly
pound
snapping necks.
while saying, "You got a nice game, G." And yo, I kid you not, Rakim let out a smile. I never even knew he had teeth. I returned the compliment, then asked him if he had played ball in school before, and he became. I asked him if he had played ball in school before he became the world's most influential lyrical architect. Football was my sport, he shared, but I played a little ball too. Everybody did. And listen, man, like your trifecta, I guess, is rubber rock 45s, right?
Rock rubber
Sneakers,
45s,
basketball,
and
and
my
music.
autobiographical documentary. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's the title of your other book.
No, it's my film. My
The
film.
film. Yes.
Yeah.
So those three things, it keeps coming back to that. And when he said everybody did, I think that reflects one of your general themes in here, which is just basketball in New York City in the 70s, and which must have been just explosive and just everywhere. How many courts across the city they got? Almost 1,000?
I mean, I don't know what the official count is. You can't ever really know the amount of rims that are in a driveway in Queens and Brooklyn and stuff. But, as far as like public courts, I've counted like 700, based off of the Parks and Recreation listing. But yeah.
Yeah, man. And just New York, like as a non-New Yorker, again, who's so inspired by New York culture, like there's just so many little connections you make between the music culture, the basketball culture in the city, and names of ball players, artists, and just giving me more context of these famous names that I have in my mind, but this just puts them in a time and a place and gives me paints more of a picture that I'm always trying to paint, as a kid who I was born in 82. And I really was inspired. Wu-Tang Clan was kind of 93. That era was really my like obsession with hip hop,
Right.
And we're talking second or third generation hip hop artists at that point, right?
Mm-hmm,
Something like that. But then they're using samples from all these other things, whether it's Juice Crew stuff or Divine Force or something like that, or Method Man singing hooks from Hall & Oates, or all these other things. Like that kind of gave me a roadmap to go do my history on it. And an artist like Lord Finesse, when I got The Awakening and stuff like that, then went back and heard all that stuff. So this is like another piece of that puzzle for me. I loved reading it. And the humor, I got to say, man, the humor and the trash talk, like I love the way that you weave New York City slang into your writing. Like I was laughing out loud. Like my wife was hanging out with me doing her own thing, and she's just like, "What's so funny?" And I'm like, "Yo, you gotta read this part. Listen to what he says here." And I don't know if you're exaggerating some of these scores, but you're leaving a lot of people on their donut. You know what I mean? 11 zip. I'm like, damn, Bob's out here crushing the game. I love the way it's written.
Listen, there is no hyperbole in that book.
Yes.
And does anyone can reference it? I mentioned a lot of people's names, former teammates, opponents. You can fact check with them. Yo, did this happen? Some of them may not remember it the way I remember it.
Sure.
And some of the stuff I'm citing in terms of like pickup run, like there's no documentation. No one was keeping score, on the sideline.
Yeah.
So it's really like my incredible memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to be as truthful, and I researched and double checked and fact checked as much as I could for that book. So, it's props to Akashic and Edge of Sports, the publishers. Dave Zirin of Edge of Sports. He's a former Slam magazine columnist. He's a phenomenal author who bridges like sports and social justice issues. They really gave me the liberty to write in the tone that I thought could only be me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't know another book that's written in the manner that I did, because there's a lot of slang in there that's from hip hop. There's slang in there from b-ball.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I switch into like Spanglish,
Mm-hmm.
Seamlessly. I try to give context in every case so that if you're like complete out of that realm, you can still understand from the paragraph. But yeah, I mean, it's a special book. In my estimation, it's unprecedented. Hold on a second. You okay? All right. It's unprecedented in that I am a Latino raised on hip hop, writing about basketball. I don't see that combination anywhere else. You know,
It's a beautiful it's a beautiful thing, and like I said, you find different ways to connect different points and different chapters, and as you evolve, you see how your younger influences influence the next thing that goes, and you keep pushing. You go outside of New York, you go to Europe, you go to Africa, you go to Japan, and each of these moments just seems to connect one to the other, and it's just like an incredible journey, Bob. Like putting together the pieces of what you've done. I mean, how do you feel about it? Like, I mean, I don't want to spoil any of the book, and I think people should take the journey with you. But standing here now, what's your perspective on how basketball has affected your life? What's your main takeaway from this whole thing?
Let me first say before we get there that you're setting such a high bar for Selector 720 and DJ Center to follow.
DJ Center's in the chat too, by the way.
Shout out to my brother Moosely Meal. Listen, I have watched your streams. I never really seen you interview somebody. You're excellent, bro.
Oh man,
I've been interviewed by journalists who have not read the book in the way that you have. No, I'm being dead serious, and that's not a knock on any of the platforms that have already, pre-recorded interviews with me. But yo, you're good, bro.
Thank you, bro.
You're good. I mean, on your second read aloud, you didn't do as well as the first one. So
I stumbled on a word, didn't I?
I'm not gonna have you do my audiobook anymore.
Man, do I gotta get another paragraph in here? Donkeo, is that how you say it?
It's Donkeo.
Donkeo.
Anybody who played NBA Street Volume 2, which was recorded in Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver.
The EA Sports, yep.
Where you spent 40 grueling hours over 5 days in the studio howling at the top of your lungs. The main gripe with Volume 1 was that the users who played endlessly would hear the same lines over and over. EA wanted the experience to be as unique as possible every time in Volume 2. So, for example, they asked me to say dunk 40 different ways. I told them there was legit maybe only 10 variations on how to describe that move, but if they let me get loose, I could come up with some esoteric and completely nonsensical lines. The writers were all hockey players. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Not even kidding. And they were like, yeah, ad-lib all you want, the more the merrier. So that's how I wound up recording. That's like a pizza slice with no crust for a missed dunk. I also called up my boy Jancy Gonzalez in Puerto Rico for some lines in Spanish that were popular on La Cancha. That's how I added Lo dejo pegao for a defender who got crossed and fell, and my favorite, Donkeo, dunk in Espanol.
Yeah. Skratch Bastid, we're going to work on your Espanol as well. Okay.
I have to work on my Espanol.
Es lo dejo pegao.
That's it. See, I need to. French is my second language.
Ah, yes.
So,
okay.
Some of those, like the G's and the J's,
Yeah. You said Puerto Rico, very French style. Yeah.
That's
you didn't roll the R.
With the rolling R's, right?
Yeah. Listen,
I gotta give a shout out.
Can roll the R.
Yeah, the roll the
AKA
R's,
DJ
exactly.
Center.
I got to give a shout out. It's a holiday in Quebec today, Saint Jean Baptiste Day, the provincial holiday there.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah,
I love
man.
this.
Yeah, and I do. I would love to learn some Spanish. There's less opportunities up here for me to learn Spanish, though both of my managers speak Spanish, so I guess I just had to spend more time with them.
There you go.
I also do want to give a big shout out to my coach, Mike Gillette. And when you were talking about the oral history of basketball and the slang and everything like that, Mike, I think he was from out west in Canada, and he played in Toronto, and he used to, with basketball comes music. A lot, like ball players have a penchant for being into music. People want to know what makes them tick, what gets them excited, what gets them in the zone, and a lot of time, music does get those people in the zone. You see a lot of people with their headphones in and whatnot, and my coach Mike, he had said, he got radio from Buffalo when he was living in Toronto, just an hour and a half away. So there was amazing black music radio stations in Buffalo that he was getting music and trading with his players and all that kind of stuff. And I had a similar experience. Making that warm up tape was everything. It started with Redman, time for some action. To me, that was like the way to start your ball was time for some action. It's like that was my era. You mentioned that that one time this record right here was you went to a ball game and someone was playing the Body Rock. You have a chapter called the Body Rock as well. Tell me about that. You pulled up and they were warming up to this song.
Do you want to read that chapter? Do you want to get a third? You want to get another audition in and read the chapter?
You know what? I don't have it. I mean, I know that it's a chapter. I don't have it marked.
It's fine. So
tell me about it.
In 1981 was my entry into the Holcomb Rucker Youth Memorial League, which is named after Mr. Holcomb Rucker, who passed away in 1965. In 1946, he invented the idea of outdoor summer basketball in an organized context, which just didn't exist prior to that, which is insane, right? But it makes sense that it would happen in Harlem, and that's why a lot of people don't know, like, talk about the Rucker is named after Mr. Holcomb Rucker. Right. A lot of people don't know who Mr. Holcomb Rucker was.
And it's important that they do. He's a very, very important person in
He should be in the Hall of Fame, like flat out.
Yeah.
I mean, flat out. I talk about, how important he was in my memoir. But for me, it was
reading this memoir was the first time I'd ever heard the first name to Rucker. Truthfully, I didn't know the significance of Mr. Rucker.
So anyways, I was at Mount Morris Park, which is now known as Marcus Garvey Park. The same park that, if you saw the Questlove Summer of Soul documentary with Stevie Wonder and Nina Simone performing Ray Barretto, that's in the same park. That park is like, to say legendary doesn't pay it enough tribute. Like, that park is bananas when it comes to the history of Harlem. And I was on a layup line, and the scorekeeper had a table. They had a one turntable that had like a speaker inside, it was just a one thing, and he put on the Body Rock. I'll never forget that. That record, just, you weren't going to hit it on BLS, Kiss. I don't think KTU had just started, but you would hear Rappers Delight on the radio, but you wasn't going to hear Body Rock on the radio.
Right.
So it was kind of like this sort of clandestine movement and a wake-up call, really, because Treacherous Three, for me, because Treacherous Three was like highly lyrical. Like, I don't think they get mentioned enough. And Finesse
they kind of get relegated to the emphatic sort of, we got something new, and they did that too.
Yeah,
but the new rap language and that side of them, like, even on the Body Rock, later in the track, they're flowing like crazy, man.
Oh yeah, no, they were like light years ahead. I'm not saying, Melly Mel and just all these, Little Rodney C. There's KK Rockwell. There's amazing MCs in the late 70s and early 80s. But for me, the Treacherous Three were like, that was it. Nobody, when he said rhyme say it like a man like Ed Koch, he was already doing compound rhymes.
Yeah.
Within a half bar. That I'm talking about Special K. But then Special K, who's related to Kool Keith. I think they were cousins, so like, or Tila Rock, I don't remember. Whatever, but it's they were just saying, I'm not in the place by accident, because I've been sent to represent the magnificent intelligent. That's why I'm on the mic with this statement. They were just saying crazy, like, and it's 1980, B. G-Rap, all the rest that are, that are like going nuts with compound rhymes come later. There's such a foundational group.
And doing a little bit of research, it's almost like there was, like, around the end of like, this is 84, and then there's almost like, then you have
Body Rock comes out in 1980.
Body Rock's 82, I think, right?
No, Body Rock is 1980. It's right after Rappers Delight. It
is.
Yeah. It's 80 or 81, but it's
not that I thought you were wrong, but you're right. This the 12 inch says 80. The album, that's kind of crazy that this one came out in 84. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong date.
It took them a while to get an album deal, I guess.
Yeah. But I guess that shows you how time passed back then and how rap was back then as well.
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out to Charlemagne, who came up to your show with Natural Elements. Charlemagne is in the chat right now.
Oh, Charlemagne, what up, B? Yeah. Natural.
And
Natural
a lot of
E,
people
L
checking
Swift, Mr. Voodoo, A Butter. Not A Butter. A Butter.
Yep.
A Butter. He changed his
still
name,
active.
though.
He sends over remixes. We play his mixes on here on the chat as well, or on the stream as well. He's always pumping out, still active. So shouts out to Charlemagne.
The original Charlemagne, because there's another Charlemagne now on the radio.
Yes.
That's doing very well.
Yep.
So props to both of them.
We clarify a lot. Yeah, Bob. I mean, that's kind of it. We shared the link at the top of the chat. If people are interested in the book, they can pre-order. It's out July 1st. You'll be campaigning, so make sure people check out your Instagram. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of add on to our chat here or in closing?
Well, what I like to say is that if you order it from Akashic Books or from bucketsandbaskets.com, it's not a pre-order anymore. So,
Okay, it's on the way.
Me, having learned from being in so many different industries, it's like, it's amazing to under-promise and over-deliver.
Mm-hmm.
We put out pre-order, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the books came into the warehouse, I told the publishers, "Yo, why are you waiting until July 1st to ship it out? Let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Reward the people who took the chance of not holding the book in a shop,
100%.
just seeing the cover and the description, and pre-ordered it based on their respect and their trust in me and my intellectual property that I've produced in the last 35 plus years." And so we just started shipping it out, and that was brilliant because people started getting their copies, and then, it was like a badge of honor, like posting it. Yo, I got Bob's book in advance, So, yeah, bucketsandbaskets.com has signed copies as well as merchandise. I should have worn merchandise, but I didn't feel like being like, yay, me, and Akashic Books. I think it's akashicbooks.com, or like I said, just go to coolboblove.com. Yo, everybody in this chat, you should follow me on twitch.tv. I haven't been too active because I've been so heavy duty promoting this book and doing interviews. But by the end of the summer, I'll be DJing again on twitch.tv/coolboblove. If you can give me a shout out where people could just start following in the chat.
We got the it's pinned in the chat. If you guys go to that, check out Bob's site and order one of this book. It's fantastic. It's great summer reading. I think maybe in closing, Bob, I just want to I loved your foreword of who this book is dedicated to. Can I read that off?
Go for it.
This book is dedicated
number 3.
to
take 3.
Those who have okay. Sorry, let me start again.
Yeah. Wait. Get your morning coffee.
This book is dedicated.
Hold on. Eat a buttery biscuit.
Buttery biscuits. Have a sip of water. This book is dedicated to those who have crashed against poles, chain link fences, and asphalt after taking it to the butter and have gotten up and kept playing. Those who have scraped open their palms after falling from trying to cook their defender with some freak disco. Those who have sweated in the sun so much in one day that their faces were crusted with dried salt.
That's right.
Those who have played outdoors so many years they can put their hands on top of their kneecaps and feel their bones chiseling against each other.
Yes. Amen.
Those who have felt the sting of acid from peeling an orange because their fingertips have open wounds from clapping them boards too much.
Yes. Yalla.
Those who have never had a tan below their sock line because they don't know what it is to be outdoors and not be playing ball.
Yes.
Those who have played with leather balls outdoors until they became suede and light enough to be taken off by a summer breeze.
That's right.
Those who have played on double rims, low rims, bitty rims, bent rims, hanging for dear life on one remaining bolt rims.
That's right.
Those who didn't have rims, who shot on the bottom step of a fire escape ladder, bottomless milk crate, or empty trash can. Those who can play high school or college for 4 years. Those who go pro and may stay at that level for a decade if lucky. Most importantly, those who lovingly dedicate themselves to playground basketball for life. There it is.
Boom.
Bobbito's book of B-ball. Bong.
You just
a
gave me
memoir by
goosebumps.
Bobbito Garcia. This man here. Put some fire in the chat.
Yo, you just gave me goosebumps, and I wrote that. I'm like, dag, I wrote that? Like, no, but you know what it's saying? It's like, I think back to, listen, I'm almost 60, right? I remember when answer machines first got introduced to the market, and listening to my voice and being like, oh, I don't like, I sound so whiny, like being self-conscious when me and Stretch started the radio show and listening back to the first cassette and being like, oh God, I sound so whack. Yo, I hope people like this, but that right there, you reading that dedication, I've never heard anybody read that out loud. I'm like, yo, I crushed that.
We'll clip it. You did crush it. And to me
I gotta pat myself.
It summarized
on
the book.
Come on, everybody, pat yourself on the back.
It summarizes the book, and I encourage all our chat to go check that out. And yeah, congratulations, Bob. Like, and keep the story going, brother. Keep the story going. Like, I can see that there's the potential for more chapters of this book. The book ain't done. You ain't even 60 yet.
Nah, B. Well, I mean, you get one chance in your life to write a memoir, right?
It's true.
I figure, now was a good time. I've accumulated a lot of experiences. But who knows? Maybe when I turn 100, 105, and I got to look back at the last 45 years of being on Twitch, having 2,000 followers.
I felt that in my soul, actually.
I'll title it "Living in the Shadows of Skratch Bastid, Selecta, and DJ Center." But yeah.
We're grateful to have you in the community, Bob, and I gotta say, I love when you stream, because you've got so much musical influences and history and connection to these songs, and when you play the music, and of course we get some Bob moves,
Can I play like 1 or 2 records before?
I would love if you played some records. Absolutely. Yeah? Yes. Give us a preview of what we might see on Cool Bob Love stream as well. There he is in the flesh. Fire in the chat for Bobbito. And this is his look. Oh my God. Cool Bob Love. Yes.
I mean, you was really getting your Phil Donahue on, when you go to start a podcast, bro.
I got a Twitch stream. This is what I do for now. And make sure you cop the book. Bobbito's Book of B-Ball Bong Bong, I believe. It's a tongue twister.
It is. It's alliteration, which I love. All right, everybody, I got to be out. Peace.
Okay, peace, Bob. Oh, my God. Bobbito just blessed Tuesday morning coffee. How special was that, chat? How special was that? I have shivers all over the bod, man. That was just so special. Bob has such an amazing energy about him, and he's a New York legend, and just a great human being. And I honestly, you guys have to go check this book, Bobbito's Book of B-Ball Bong Bong. Got a link in the chat. And Bob's been on Twitch, and it's my pleasure to share this platform. We had over 10,000 people. We were on the front page of Twitch, which is crazy. We still got a lot of people rocking in here. For those that don't know, Bobbito was part of a duo called Stretch and Bobbito. That was a very, very influential radio duo. Highly recommend watching their documentary, Stretch and Bobbito, about the history of their radio show and the influence that it had. Started many careers as well. And, the first MF Doom album came out with him. He's on it. I think that's the way we got to kind of carry on from here. He was looking for his Rhymes Like Dimes test pressing, and we got to get that going. You'll hear him shout it out at the end of the song. I am going to ride off this energy for the rest of the program. A hype train is going. Let's get it going. Let's cook up some buttery biscuits for the chat. Let's celebrate life. Living life like it's golden. Shouts out to Cool Bob Love one time. DJ Cucumber Slice.
Hey, yo, y'all can't stand right here. In his right hand was your man's worst nightmare. Loud enough to burst his right eardrum close range. The game is not only dangerous, but it's most strange. I sell rhymes like dimes